I'm Lori Jean, and I'm the founder of Pivot, and I run a retreat center and have coaches that work for us to help people have better relationships. I was inspired to create the Pivot process because for years I was seeking help and couldn't find it. And, I have a book out and I talk a lot about my story in that book. And the summary would be that, I came from complex trauma and I was overdiagnosed and undertreated and given several labels that never felt true to who I am, and just really felt this deep, deep passion about really helping change people's lives. It's really interesting how I stumbled into behavioral health. It was not something that I had a background in initially. I was in sales, I was a waitress, I did all kinds of jobs. I was one of the first step aerobic instructors, and after years of working in marketing and doing some branding, through life, I was living wearing a mask. And so my experience was really life experience. What I knew and what my passion was people. And even though I didn't come to this field in the traditional way, I came to this field with a tremendous amount of experience in relationships, in successful relationships, in failed relationships, and it just really inspired me to jump in. I knew deep down that I wanted to help people. It probably started when I was a little girl and played Lucy for Halloween. Just give me 5 cents and I'll fix your problems. I grew up in a lot of trauma. I had a lot of love, but there was a lot of things that happened in my childhood. My father drowned when I was a little girl. My mom committed suicide when I was a teenager. Sexual abuse in my storyline. Just, a lot of stuff. And there are so many people on the planet that suffer. And I just wish I would have known myself more. I wish I would have known that there was a way out. I wish I would have known that the essence of me is not everything that happened to me. And so that was with me in every relationship I had, every breakup I went through, every friendship I picked, everything that I was doing in life prior to getting help was done to help feel like I needed to survive, and I was never thriving. It really makes me very emotional when I think about the fact that I didn't really even know who I was, and here I was, this woman existing in the world and getting married and all of that. It's kind of like not realizing you're wearing a mask and you're wearing a mask. So I really always felt like there was something that wasn't quite right, and I always thought it was me. But what wasn't quite right was I wasn't doing what I was meant to do. I wasn't helping people. I wasn't utilizing my passion in the world. And I know that probably sounds corny to some people, but it's really true. I am not what happened to me. I'm Lori Jean. I was very fortunate about 15, 16 years ago to know a woman, Nancy Brown, who was opening a treatment center to help people that had challenges in relationships, codependency, love addiction, all of the things that were, popular to really go and get help around. And when I went to have my interview with her, I talked to her about my idea of Pivot, although it didn't have a name yet. And I knew her already, and she took a chance on me and hired me, and I had the great fortune of being the director of that facility for 10 years. As I started to realize that I needed to do some work on myself, I saw some really, really kind-hearted therapists. And I kept having the same experience over and over again. And that experience was, why are you here? Tell me your story. Wow. Wow, that's a lot, Lori Jean. You went through a lot. And I had compassion, and I was given a couple of little tools, but I was never really given permission to get to know that higher part of who I am and really help me not just talk about and process what I went through, but where can I go and how do I get there? It's one of the reasons why I love coaching so much, because you can look in the rearview mirror and the goal is to move forward. Where are you going based on where have you been? You know, we get a lot of people that come to our retreat that share with us that they've been to a therapist and it hasn't worked. And the truth is that, you know, therapy does work. The challenge is that the way that we're offering therapy is hard to get behavioral change, because 1 hour once a week for someone who is 30 years old that grew up on the internet, that gets answers right away, that wants quick results, they don't stay in it long enough and they come in with crises that aren't managed in time. I really appreciate the therapists that recommend people come to the Glass House. The 5-day immersive experience really helps people get the behavioral change they're looking for. You know, trying to do it 1 hour a week when there's something like, should I stay in this marriage? What am I going to do because my son just went to treatment? You know, should I marry that person? You know, how am I going to deal with this family business that's getting sold? What am I going to do about retirement? You know, the unique stories that come through our door to be able to find out what to do next, and then watching people transition into knowing what they do next and leave here with a plan, leave here with a solution, many solutions. I can't even describe what truly, how much that inspires me to keep doing what I do. Watching the faces change, watching the energy change, and watching people that are seeking solution get that solution, get those answers, understand themselves. What's unique about the Glass House is that we get people that are in deep relational pain, and we also get people that come that just want to better their lives. And it's so nice to see, you know, a group of people come together and be in an individual process in a safe group environment, working with the certified coaches to be able to help and understand and transition into a healthier life. I love that Pivot helps people really get in to understanding themselves, who they are, and how they can live differently in the world, and not get into a system that will over-assess and under-treat them. Medication is great, but is it the right medication? And get labels that you feel like you have to wear and throw in your backpack and trudge around the world feeling shame and guilt. It's freeing. You know, we use the term internally, relational freedom. It gives you relational freedom. It really does. I would love for Pivot to be in the hands of everyone across the world. You know, when people ask me, why do people need Pivot? It's simple, because it works. Pivot actually works.